This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Joining us in the huddle today is Dylan Groat, Director of Franchise Development with Joshua Tree Experts. Welcome to the show, Dylan.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you find franchising and ultimately Joshua Tree Experts?
Yeah, great question. So I found franchising a lot like a lot of people do by accident, right? So I've been working with Joshua Malik for just over 6 years now. I started out in the operations center. I was, doing the product services, and I did some operations management, ended up in human resources for a couple of years. And then we joined Franchise Fastlane's carpool program in February of this year. And he asked me to come on and develop the brand and actually get the word out there about Joshua Tree Experts for him.
Very cool. So Joshua founded the Joshua Tree Experts brand in 2005. Take us through the history of the concept. How did it evolve from a startup back in 2005 to where it is today as a franchise system?
Yeah, so again, we started in 2005. We've been doing tree care for 18 years. Basically what happened was over the years, we've always been in the home service environment. Our goal is making home environments safe, healthy, and beautiful. So that's always been our mission. And we found that there were certain opportunities that were out there, such as lawn care and pest control, that we could add on as additional service lines. And that's how it really evolved, dude. It wasn't something that we came into this and said, hey, let's build this awesome brand and then go straight to franchise. And we really, franchising was an afterthought, actually, when we originally started. And it just came to be that this was such a great system for that. When he evolved, it took about, it was in 2017 when he officially launched the lawn care application services. And then 2 years later, we actually launched and added on the pest control as well. So that's how it's evolved over the years. And really what, the big thing that we're excited about is starting to branch out. We're just dipping our toes into the water and franchising right now, but we're gaining some really great traction. We have currently 3 franchisees that are on board with us, looking to sign another 2 by the end of the year, which is really close. Awesome. I know we got like 1 more week left, but it's going really well. We're having an awesome year, and we're excited, as far as like what 2024 is really looking like.
Yeah, well, you kind of answered my next question, but I'll give you an opportunity to elaborate. I was going to ask what makes Joshua Tree special and unique, and you mentioned the 3 different service lines. So you started out with trees, then you evolved into lawn care, and then pest control. So the idea of having 3 in 1 is pretty attractive. And then the other thing that just stuck out to me was safety, because you guys are in the tree business. So the fact that you guys have safety as a top priority is super meaningful, and hopefully that resonates with your owners, that the culture is built around, being safe for your employees, technicians, your customers, etc. So going back to the special and unique question, what makes Joshua Tree Experts stand out?
Yeah, so it's definitely what we call the Joshua Tree 3. So again, that's tree care, lawn care, and pest control. Tree care, what we do is general tree care such as pruning, reducing, and removal of trees. And then we also do a service called plant health care. It's also known as tree and shrub spray and injection services. The lawn care aspect is fertilization, aeration, weed management. So it's no mowing or anything like that. It's all treatment and application based. And then our pest control is fully exterior. And we also do mosquito, flea, and tick. So the exciting and unique thing about this is it's not just one franchise. There's not one service line that you're putting, marketing into. it's really three different franchises built into one that you have an opportunity, whatever service line is growing and scaling and you're finding traction in your market with, that's what you put your marketing into. That's what you grow. So there's different avenues that franchisees can take to actually grow and scale their business. This is a very scalable model because the lawn care, the plant health care, the pest control, our goal is 60% of the entire service line that a franchisee has is those three services. The reason we want to do that is because they're all recurring revenue streams. They're subscription based. You do $500,000 worth of services in year one or year two. Guess what? You start that following year with that much in sales already, and you're just continuing to build it and build it. Bring on more team members, add more assets to your your inventory, such as more vehicles. So it's really a very unique model. There's not very many companies out there. As far as I know, we're the only ones in franchising that offer all three of them. But there are some other out there that are kind of dipping their toes into it. But we've been doing this for a while, and we know how to find the clients and actually get the leads for these people. So it's a very like I said, very scalable, definitely for someone who wants to really grow an empire brand and have, do $5-6 million at some point in their territories.
Yeah, that sounds like a tremendous amount of scale you can achieve having all these different revenue streams. And I know a lot of candidates that want to get into franchising don't want something that's super one-dimensional, where it's like, hey, I have this one widget and I can sell it and that's it. Having those three different lines and then even having those different products within lawn care, like, with my yard, I have separate companies that handle each one of those things, and it can be pretty cumbersome in terms of invoicing and who's coming when and making sure the irrigation guy comes at the right time and doesn't, interfere with the fertilization or with the weed removal. So the fact that it's all under one roof, I could see as a nice benefit on the consumer side. So let's talk a little bit more about the competitive advantages of Joshua Tree Experts. Anything stick out when you look at the landscape of what's out there? Obviously, you're going up against independents, you're going up against other franchise systems. What are some of the competitive advantages of Joshua Tree Experts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the biggest thing is that it's not just residential. We primarily focus on residential, but we also have commercial applications that we can do. We've built, tons of relationships with whether it be, HOAs or townships. There's tons of opportunity for every single service line to be able to offer that to not only residential clients, but also commercial services as well. Again, it's that three services in one brand. That's a huge competitive advantage for not only franchisees, but also their clients. You kind of just said it, right? Clients don't want to have to go to one person to do tree, one person do lawn, one person do pest.
Yeah,
they really want one home service provider. Yeah. And see, the thing that what we found is that clients like the education, the experience that we can provide them, and then also how easy it is. Having one provider do care for their entire home environment is very valuable to a client who we reach out to. Another thing is definitely, our goal is to get to that 60% recurring revenue stream. That's a huge competitive advantage in our industry. A lot of the, mom and pop shops that franchisees will have competition with, really they're doing one service, which is general tree care removal services. Mm-hmm. The fact that, we're offering those additional services is really going to help us stand out. And then also it's our experience in this industry. We've been doing this for 18 years. Like I said, it's not something where we found this really cool thing that worked, let's franchise it. We really defined this model, and it was a recommendation actually to us that we should franchise.
Yeah, I love that. When you hear from people, whether it's vendors or customers, that you guys should be a franchise, or you look like a franchise, or you behave like a franchise, generally that's a compliment that you guys have kind of streamlined your operations. You have the look, you have the branding, you've kind of got it buttoned down.
Yeah, and honestly, we're finding a lot of franchisees that are coming into the system and learning more about it. That's their favorite part about the experience overall, is how clean the brand is, how present it really can be, and it's a strong name. Joshua Tree Experts. It stands out. It's got some historical meaning. It's got biblical meanings. It's got all kinds. You throw it out there, and people love the name. They love the branding, and we're very excited about it. I did want to touch on something. You talked about safety. Yeah. One thing that really helps us stand out and we're competitive as well is the fact that we focus on preservation services. So there's a lot of tree services out there. They only do removals, right? They target removals. They do
They have
these
one
like
solution, cut it down.
yeah, right. And the thing is, you just removed your ability to go back there and cross sell somebody on an additional service line. So what we do is we focus on the pruning techniques. So reducing trees, having like elevation on trees. What that allows us to do is also cross market and cross sell our additional services of plant healthcare, get back on those property, improve the health of those plants and trees on that property. But also it reduces our risk, right? We don't need these big boom trucks, going on properties. We don't have to worry about this giant tree coming down and, guys swinging from all over the place. Like that's what a lot of people think about tree care. That's what they think about. And we're reducing that risk, reducing that liability to the franchise owner by only focusing primarily on those pruning services. Now, that's not to say they won't do removal services, but we train and talk about that very often. Safety is absolutely paramount in this industry. So it's something that is got to be a constant. You're never not actively being a safety officer in this industry. It's
Cool.
definitely very important to us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for kind of expanding on that. So you talked about kind of franchise owners. Tell me about the kind of traits you're seeking. Who makes a good franchise owner with Joshua Tree Experts?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the traits, and then we also have these two like personas that we're looking for as well, and it can help the viewers out there kind of see where they fit into that as well. So some of the traits that we have are passion for community involvement. A big thing, like we're always able to offer our services to charities. We're very heavily involved in improving our community. Obviously trees are an environmental asset, so keeping them there and pruning them is huge for us. We want to be able to provide that for the community. Also, some experience in sales really helps. It's more consultative sales, someone who's calling you to have a property inspection done for a tree care proposal. Really, they need this service. It's not something that they're going to be able to do on their own. So it is very much more consultative. So we can train that a lot. But relationship building is a must, right? You have to be able to connect with people, not just go straight into business. You got to be able to want to get to know the person, build that strong relationship with them so that they become that repeat client. That's why we call them clients and not customers, because a customer's a one-off, right? Also, someone who wants to scale. Again, our model is designed around building and scaling year over year. If someone who wants to get into the system, hit like a certain gross sales and then just kind of ride it out for the 10-year mark, it's probably not the right fit for us, right? We want people who are excited, they want to grow, and really want to drive that aggressive, scalability each year. And then lastly, I think that this is probably just something that's fun is, maybe they worked in a blue collar industry when they were young, but they want to be able to make that white collar money, right? So maybe they went to the corporate world and they want to be back in that, but they don't think that they can make the kind of money there. So one of the things that we talk about is, hey, working in a blue collar industry, but making that white collar money. So if that's something that, you're interested in, maybe you mowed grass when you were young and you just enjoyed it, right? Let's get you back in the industry, get you back outside, but we don't want you in trees. I'll tell you that. So at the very least, that's not what we want. So that's pretty much the different qualities and different traits that franchisees who come into this system have. We do have different offerings for franchisees. We actually describe them as growers or builders, right? Okay. So a builder is somebody who, hey, I want to come in, I want to purchase equipment. I want to build a lot of equity in this business and grow it very, very quickly. I want to get into the additional services like, within year one, definitely year two. A wealth grower will be someone who's like, hey, I want to invest, maybe just like the actual, like a lower investment. I'm looking to do more of a finance option for the equipment. And maybe they just want to scale at their own pace. So this might be for someone who's coming in with a little less capital, but really still wants to get into this business. We have that offer for them as well. We just have it more strategic and structured out how they would grow.
Okay. So I'm assuming that based on which type, they're owner operators that are going to be operating this thing day in and day out, and then there's going to be more kind of executive ownership or semi-absentee. Can you kind of explain the difference between those two different ownership models?
Absolutely. So, I'll start with the owner operator. It's really not operator in our industry. It's more owner manager. Really what it is if you're looking to actively be in the business day to day, our recommendation is learn how to sell tree care, right? We can train that very easily. We've done it for the past 18 years on training tree guys how to do it. So if I could train someone who just climbs up a tree every day, I promise we could train you too. So being an account manager and then basically being in that consultative role, our first franchisee, this is an interesting story. He was a banker, and now he's selling tree care like he's been doing it for 20 years. So you don't need any experience in it. You just have to you have to have the energy and actually want to learn how to do it. Outside of that, really what you're doing as the owner manager, you're just leading and developing that team, working closely with the crew leader, who's actually the manager essentially for that crew that goes out and performs the work. And then lastly, building those community relationships and, other professional relationships with green industry individuals. Now, if you're looking more for the executive owner, what we would do is we'd help you actually find someone who does your sales. Likely, we would help you find like an arborist in your area that can be an account manager. What we always advise owners is for at least the first year, you should expect about 15 to 20 hours working in this business if you want to be that executive owner. So we are very transparent about that. You're not going to like invest the money and then you're not going to have to do some work. There is going to be work involved, and we're very transparent about that. What we would do, again, we just help them hire that arborist, and then we get that staff. And the arborist acts more as that operations manager, just as if they were the owner in the owner manager role.
Okay. Well, thanks for kind of explaining the difference between the two ownership types. So explain to me a little bit about the Advanced Operations Training, or AOS program. When is that scheduled? Who participates in it? And what does that cost above the traditional franchise fee to kind of get in on a territory?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. We rolled out this program, and it's going to be in our new FTD coming up here.
Okay, so we're ahead of the curve here.
Brand new program for us, so this might be a lot of the first time people are hearing about it for sure. What that is Advanced Operations Training, AOT. So it is an optional training for someone who's in that semi-absentee role. It's a training specifically designed for that account manager who's going to be actively out there and engaging in the sales. So what we're going to do is we're going to help them find somebody who already knows how to do this, is already familiar with the industry, but maybe they do it a different way than we do it. So we're actually going to help allow them to come, learn, shadow, and train with our team here. So this is a very in-depth sales and operations training outside of the traditional training that we do for all franchisees and one other person. So this is a very in-depth training. Everything from shadowing an actual account manager, going to job sites, seeing their day-to-day and how they actually operate. That's what this is all designed around. And then also working with our operations manager and our department supervisors to learn the intricacies of what it takes to run Joshua Tree day-to-day. So again, it's mostly like an extra comfort level for that person who's investing money as an executive owner, knowing that person who's going to be running their operations knows how to do it the Joshua Tree way.
Yeah, that's great, because there's usually a gap between what happens in real life and what you expect it to be. And having this extra amount of training is probably going to plug those gaps, so your team knows exactly what expectations should be and what the day-to-day looks like and how the business ticks. So that's really great. So talking about the team, when a new franchise owner launches, so they kind of done their vetting, they decided this is what I want to do. They're awarded the Joshua Tree franchise. What does their initial team look like in terms of number of employees and their roles within the organization?
Yeah, so all this stuff I've been saying, you're probably like, man, you probably need like 12 people to get started. It's funny, you only actually need 4. So it's someone to do the actual sales. It's that account manager. And again, that owner can be in that role to get started. And then it's 3 other people. It's a crew leader, a climber, and a groundsman. So what our goal is we actually cross-train one of those individuals to do the plant healthcare services, because that's going to be something that builds over time. There's going to be a time and point where, hey, we are going to want to grow this and we're going to need somebody dedicated, but it's really not off the bat. So what we do is we start out with that general tree care team, cross-train one of those individuals to do the plant healthcare services, and then we grow the team as the the operations and the specific service line meets that capacity for one person to have to do it all the time.
Yeah, so it's a relatively lean team to get things going. That's great. So you have the team in place. Let's talk about the vehicles and equipment, because clearly we're talking about some different services here, from kind of spreading, fertilization services, tree pruning, tree removal. When you're starting off, what kind of vehicles and equipment are needed for a new Joshua Tree Experts owner?
Yeah, so if anybody out there is listening, this should get you really excited, because this is all assets, right? This is money on your balance sheet, right? And this is what makes up, we'll talk, I'm sure, later about our initial investment, but this is the stuff that you are going to own. So our chip, starts out with a chip truck, a forestry truck, and then we also have a chipper attached to that. Another vehicle is called the Mason Dump PHC Switch and Go. So this is actually a fabricated truck that we have designed specifically for Joshua Tree. It's a very unique truck. It's if you've ever seen like those dumpsters, how they roll them off the back and they roll up, a different one. We've actually designed with the manufacturer one that will do a dump body and also a plant healthcare rig. So that's a pretty cool, unique vehicle. You can only get it with us, right? And then pretty simple after that. It's just a sales vehicle, something like a Toyota Corolla, just something that we can wrap and look really nice for your account managers to show up in. An optional piece that we have, but we strongly recommend, is a stump grinder with a trailer. So what that allows you to do is actually go out and perform stump grindings in your own service, rather than outsourcing that or getting a contractor to do it. But franchisees are not required to purchase that. And then another optional piece, if they're really looking to build those assets and really jump into more of opportunity as far as like being able to do it, more removal jobs and everything like that off the bat, we also recommend more of like an aerial lift or like a spider lift of some sort. Our recommendation is definitely going to be a spider lift. Again, it's not required. We can absolutely go out and perform all these services without it, but it is something that if a franchisee wants that type of equipment, we can facilitate, and we have vendors who are willing to get them financed for that or get them that opportunity.
Okay, so with some of this equipment, some of it's like off the rack, and some of these vehicles are going to be somewhat custom with the manufacturer, like you just mentioned. What are the lead times? If an owner kind of joins the system, how long can they expect delivery of the equipment and vehicles? Like, are we talking months? Are we talking weeks? What's the kind of standard there?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's probably one of the more important ones. So once we sign, we actually have relationships with our vendors that we can make that package order immediately. So we're not waiting around for franchisees to get all their funding together. As soon as they sign and they move forward with a Joshua Tree Experts franchise, we're ordering that equipment like right off the bat. What we actually have is basically it's set up to where when they come out to launch 45 days prior to their official like operational date, we want that equipment to be completely delivered right around that time frame. So they come to training 45 days prior, and then they go home. Once they get home, that equipment is there, ready to go. So what that means, it's about 2.5 months from signing until actually the delivery of the equipment.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. Our vendors like us so far, so we like that a lot too. Yeah, we've got some really great relationships built, and we're just fortunate enough that we have some great people on the team that have those relationships, that we've essentially made it to where they're holding off like certain sets for us specifically. So when we go to them, we say, hey, we need 2 packages. They just send them out. So it's really just a matter of getting them wrapped delivered to the franchisee.
Super. So that kind of segues into training. You mentioned about, the kind of lead time between when someone comes out to training and when they're going to need the equipment in the field. So tell us a little bit about how Joshua Tree Experts trains and supports its new owners.
Yeah, so we start right off the bat, our welcome call with us turns right into an onboarding call, right? We go straight into it, talk about marketing and recruiting right off the bat. But what they can expect in an actual training perspective is 68 hours here dedicated in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. That's both in classroom training, talking about technology, how do you schedule a job, how do you invoice a client, all those things, all the way to out in the field training. This is active sales training. We take them to real sales that we're actually performing operations on. We go see what those teams are doing and how to set up. Then what we also do is we do additional 2 weeks of in-market support at launch. So what that looks like is 1 week prior to their launch, and then the week of launch, we're actually out in their market in person, helping them not only sell, but also gain those relationships with other green industry professionals in their environment. So that way we're actually helping them launch their brand in their area. As far as support goes, what we've done is we've said, hey, what are all the best franchises doing? How can we take that one step further and do it even better? So what we've designed is we have an in-house call center. That in-house call center they're all Joshua Tree employees. It's not some, random call center out there. They speak the language. All they talk about all day is Joshua Tree experts. They will take all of our franchisees' calls. They do what's called lead qualification for general tree care and plant health care. And then when our franchisees offer lawn care and pest control, we have a one-step sales solution for those services. So we will completely sell all of their lawn care and pest control over the phone for them. Additionally, we have in-house recruitment. So we have an in-house recruiter who works for us, and he handles everything they handle everything from posting all the way up through the phone screen for the franchisee. So the franchisee doesn't have to worry about, sitting there managing job boards all the time. We have dedicated team that's going to be doing that for them, scanning through all those candidates and finding the most qualified and the people who match our culture and our opportunity the best. The only thing the franchisee really needs to do is have those face-to-face interviews and ultimately decide who they want to hire. And then even when they do that, we're providing interview training, interview templates, and just job descriptions, career ladders, everything that they need to look professional, have like a great opportunity. We provide that for them. And then the last thing, and kind of a really cool thing it's a new thing. It's called the Green Team. So our Green Team is actually going to be a team of people who have been with Joshua Tree experts for 5-6 years, who have high expertise in tree care and plant health care. Also for lawn care and pest control, we're rolling that out next year. But this team is actually going to go out to franchisees' locations and provide not only evaluation, but training to franchisees, team members who are out there performing the job. Again, we already talked about how important safety is. This team is actually going to be help developing those people who are out there performing those services for the franchisee. So we're going to do a lot of that post-launch.
Yeah, I mean, you've taken a lot off the plate of the owner, which I know is a big deal for, people that are new to business and new to franchising. Having an own in-house call center with experts is a really huge tool. Being able to help recruit and fill those W-2 roles for that initial crew is huge because you guys know how to do it and they don't. So it's kind of great that you heavily participate in that. Yeah, and the Green Team, I mean, wow, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit. You hinted before at the startup costs. So let's talk item 7. So the initial investment, I know it's going to vary if an owner comes in and wants to buy the equipment versus they go through a lease package. What's kind of our ballparks there in item 7 to get going with Joshua Tree?
Yeah, I like to give some pretty specific numbers just because I've done this so many times and it always comes out to be pretty much the exact same. So financing with us, it's about $300,000.
Okay.
Somewhere within that, give or take like 10 or 15%. Really, that's what it's going to take to finance that. 87,000 of that is going to be the financing toward the vehicles. The rest of the stuff is everything from initial franchise fee to marketing to working capital, right? Just the things that we actually need to operate and start a business.
Sure.
If we do have people who want to build immediate equity and really take advantage of bonus, depreciation, stuff like that, that's where they're going to want to purchase this equipment. To purchase this, it's about $580,000, right? But the great thing is that $362,000 of that is assets that you're buying. So these are things that, yes, you're going to pay for them, but now you have something tangible and valuable to sell off at some point.
Yeah, and also you mentioned the Section 179 bonus depreciation. I'm not a tax advisor or expert, but my understanding is you can enjoy that benefit up until 2026, and it gives us a couple years runway to enjoy that benefit for new owners that come in and end up buying the equipment and kind of using that bonus depreciation. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. It's a good time to get in now and start taking advantage of it for sure, because
Exactly.
it may change.
Yeah, it seems like it will. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about franchise territory. So when an owner comes in, how is that structured? Do you do it by population? Do you do it by rooftops? Tell us a little bit about how a franchise owner can expect to kind of set up their territories.
Yeah, so it is by population. We do zip code clusters. So it's basically a grouping of zip codes. You know, we're not looking for one zip code here, one zip code here. We're looking for a group of them at 200. Yeah, at 250,000 in population. Now, if you look at a lot of other franchises, most of them in the service industry, they're going to be like 150 to 200. We found a lot of chunk. Yeah, so 250 is a large territory, and on top of that, we're going to talk some more stuff. I'm sure here about, you know, what can a single team actually do, and honestly, I'm excited to talk about that. But yeah, our you know structure is 250,000 in population for that zip code cluster.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask. So does that mean that a single team that you described earlier can service more than that 250?
Absolutely. So that's where we really excel. You know, what we're looking for is about 3 territories, right? What we found, you know, throughout the nation on average, that's how many territories we can have one single crew, one single operating unit actually performing in about 3 territories. I'll elaborate that a little bit more though, because it's really a drive time. Right? That's what we're really taking advantage of and taking in consideration. So theoretically, if you could build 5 territories in a 1-hour drive time, you can have 5 territories being performed by one set of crew, right?
So that density is going to come into play. It's like how many homes are clustered. So there's more urban and suburban markets are probably going to be kind of fit that category. As you get more rural, drive times increase. You know, you're not going to be able to service as many of those territories.
You're exactly right. And we also want to take up some of those urban areas because that's SEO traffic, right? Not everybody lives and, you know, not everybody works exactly where they live. So we want to make sure our SEO is picking them up. Hey, I know me. If I need a service, if I get 10, 15 minutes at work, that's what I'm doing. I'm Googling it while I'm at work. So we always recommend franchisees, hey, own that downtown area. You're going to suck up all that SEO. You're going to drive a lot of traction that way. So yeah, on average, that's what our franchisees are coming into is about 3 territories. But again, you can really just start that with one crew, but it gives you just such a big operating area to be able to scale and build this into like this really big empire brand.
Yeah, that's a really interesting observation that you could be at work in an urban area. Your home is 30 minutes away in the burbs, but you want to show up when that search takes place downtown because that's who's going to book the job, so it can be done later. So that's interesting.
Exactly. Yep.
So let's talk about, you know, you're an emerging franchisor. You mentioned that earlier. I'm assuming there's a lot of white space for new owners to come in and secure some choice areas at this point.
Absolutely right. So we are registered in all states except California, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Hawaii. So
there's no trees there?
Say again?
Are there no trees there?
No, there are trees there. The issue is like population for like North Dakota, South Dakota. You'd pretty much own the whole state, I think, at this point. But you know, we've made an executive decision as a business not to go into California just at this time. There's some contractor law that it really wouldn't burden us as the franchisor, but it's more the
very common in home services, exterior, interior. California is usually one of the last on the checklist for those reasons. It's just a harder place to do business with their subcontractor provisions.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you are in an area outside of those states, we pretty much have white space. I will say this: we have current locations right now in Middletown, New York. We have Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's still a lot of white space left in Pittsburgh. We have Westchester, Philadelphia taken up. Now, there is still some opportunity down in, Westchester, Pennsylvania. There's still opportunity in Philadelphia. So there's still some white space there. And we're really excited. We're going to be signing on Indianapolis and also Charlotte, North Carolina, here in probably the next couple of weeks. So that's very exciting.
That's
so
great. Congrats.
if you're not in one of those areas, guess what? The territory is available.
Very cool. Yeah, one thing that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting and I like is that in your item 6, you have a sliding scale royalty that rewards owners when they hit certain sales benchmarks. And I find that pretty unique, especially because the way I read it, it's measured weekly, which is just different. So explain how that works with the kind of sliding scale royalty.
Yeah, so our whole process for this was, hey, we want our franchisees to actually be able to make and retain more revenue when they drive those sales. So what we do is it basically goes everywhere from 6% all the way down to 3.5%. Basically, easily put, the more you make and the more you service, the less you pay as a percentage. So it really offers an opportunity for franchisees. The reason we do it by week is because they might be offering all these service lines, right? Let's say they're doing, 50, 60,000 a week in general tree care, and then they do, they're offering lawn care, so they're doing aeration, and they're doing pest control, they're doing mosquito, flea, and tick, and they're also doing perimeter that week. Well, guess what? Now you've got all these service lines that are really going to combine, and you're going to be able to pay less on your royalties. But you're going to be able to retain more, so that, it's really just designed so that, when things are really pumping up, you're able to keep more money. And then it's just a standard like 6%. When things start to slow down or you're not offering as many services at a certain time, there's certain times of the year where we will just absolutely demolish goals. So we wanted franchisees to take advantage of that and really pump up the numbers when it means so. So
it's awesome.
It's kind of a driving factor for us. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about kind of item 19, financial performance representations. What can you share with us about Joshua's Tree's historical performance?
Yeah, man, we can share a lot because we have a full P&L. So when franchisees look at our item 19, this is the one thing we took a lot of consideration into. We have a full corporate P&L. So there's nothing hidden from you. You're going to see exactly what all of our direct and indirect expenses are. What we've also done is we've taken another step further and we've built out 7 tables of KPIs. Everything from client count to sales ratio, closing ratios, to service count, to average gross sale. There is so much information in there. I really can talk about a lot, which is great. I love working for a franchisor who, allows me to say these kinds of things.
That transparency, I know it goes a long way with candidates too. They like to see that.
Yeah, and right now, just to give you a little snapshot, what this is actually looking like, and if you're interested in finding out more, definitely talk to Mike so he can send you our way. But right now, we're showing $249,000 in profit per territory. So if you want to find out how we do that and learn more about it, definitely chat with Mike.
That's great. I mean, those are huge earnings, so that's really cool. And the fact that you have the whole thing so you can see sales all the way down to earnings, I think it's really helpful for someone to build out their pro forma when they're going to get bank financing, or at least just, maybe bringing in a partner or something like that.
Absolutely.
So, anything else about Joshua Tree that you'd like to share with us before we part ways?
I do. I have some exciting news. So we understand, I talked a little bit earlier about how we believe a 3-territory area is super crucial to the start of a franchisee. We don't want them having to come back and buy more territories year after year. So one thing that we're currently offering, and we are going to be offering this until about, the end of Q2, so July of 2024, this will probably drop off. But we have a free territory right now that you can get. So this is going to save you. Yeah, it's going to save franchisees $38,000, right? Right off the bat, you're already saving money. So the way that works is So our promotion gives you a free territory as long as you buy 2. So we were like, how do we incentivize people to really come on, take advantage of having 750,000 people in population and growing that system? Because again, just to go back to everything we talked about, we are looking for people who want to grow and want to scale that business. And really, what 3 territories can do for you is pretty significant. Just to give you a snapshot, and you will see this in our item 19, so again, I can talk about it, is over the course of 16 years in 3 territories, we worked in 3 territories for 16 years. We didn't expand, we didn't grow. We worked specifically in those 3 territories for that long, and we produced $5.7 million in 3 territories. So wow. That is really with the scalable model that we have in mind. That really is the opportunity in just 3 territories that we're putting out there for people.
Yeah, it's great that you've already shown them the template. So if you guys can do it in that market and you're looking at a population base, I mean, clearly they're not going to replicate your success overnight, but the fact that over that 16-year time horizon, you're able to achieve those results in that same population base that you currently get for 2 territories and get that bonus 3rd one, that's pretty great. And also you mentioned before that the equipment, I'm sure your equipment evolved as those jobs filled up, but to start out and to be able to kind of build your business with that one set of equipment and vehicles and then scale it according to revenue is a pretty exciting deal.
Yeah, it really is. And we're, honestly, the biggest thing is just getting into those additional service lines. That's where the scalability is. There's going to be franchisees who come in and we're hoping franchisees beat our numbers. Like, that's what we want. We want franchisees to do that. And we're really, what we've done over the past 18 years is take out those speed bumps, right? That's what we figured out. We've taken a lot of those speed bumps out. We have a full team here dedicated, ready to work with a franchisee. One thing that I always tell people when they come out to confirmation day is, as you're interviewing us, we're interviewing you. So the first night of our confirmation day is usually just like a cocktail hour. We're just getting to know each other. I always say, like, relax, act like you're just with friends, because that's really what we're trying to do here. We're going into a marriage in a sense, right? So we want to make sure that not only are you the right fit, are we the right fit for you, but do we actually want to work together? Do we want to work with? It's like the one time where you can actually pick the people you want to work with. It's just, so it's a very great thing. We're super excited to be a part of the franchise community. And again, I just want to say thank you very much, by the way, for having me on here. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Oh, awesome, Dylan. Well, I appreciate you explaining the culture and, how it's important for the franchisee and the franchisor to be in lockstep about, what the intentions are and how they're going to work together, because it's a 10-year franchise agreement in most cases. So like you said, it's a business marriage. So, and I appreciate the compliment. Loved having you on the show. And if anyone would like to connect with Dylan to learn more about the process to own a Joshua Tree Experts territory, contact me at franchiseqb.com, on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB, and I'll get you connected with him. Thank you, Dylan, for taking the time to get in the huddle with us and speaking to us about Joshua Tree Experts.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.